All right, so this video talks about sentence structure. You should memorize the subordinating conjunctions, because whenever you have a subordinating conjunction that starts a dependent clause, which is an incomplete thought, and every time you have a subordinating conjunction, you have a complex sentence. Complex sentence, when you have a dependent clause at the beginning of the sentence, you have to put a comma after the dependent clause. So when you have a subordinating conjunction, it means that it is an incomplete thought. It's subordinate to the independent clause, which is a complete thought. So, for example, after Jane comes home from school, comma, she studies. Although John is fat, comma, he is smart. As long as you study, comma, you will get good grades. And so that sort of thing. Okay, so all of these, while John is walking the dog, he chews gum. So all of these are dependent clauses. Now, when you want a correct complete sentence, is a sentence that expresses a complete thought. There are three kinds of sentences: simple sentence, subject, verb, and object; compound sentence, which is two equally important sentences joined by fanboy, which is a coordinating conjunction: subject, verb, object, fanboy, subject, verb, object. Complex sentence is a dependent clause with an independent clause, and the dependent clause always starts with a subordinating conjunction plus subject plus verb, and then comma, and then an independent clause. An example of a simple sentence is John, subject, drinks, verb, water, object. Compound sentence is two sentences. Compound means two. The word compound means two. John drinks water a lot, comma, but he still feels thirsty. So you put a comma after the but, after fanboys. Complex sentence is when you have a subordinating conjunction that starts the dependent clause, and when the dependent clause is in the middle, at the beginning of the sentence, then you put a comma after it, and then you have an independent clause. To avoid sentence fragments, study the difference between coordinating conjunctions, subordinating conjunctions, and transition words. So coordinating conjunction is always a compound sentence. Transition word is always a compound sentence. Subordinating conjunction is always a complex sentence. And so in a nutshell, you have three kinds of sentences. John drinks a lot of water, but he is still thirsty, compound sentence. Although John drinks a lot of water, comma, he is still thirsty, complex sentence. So in a compound sentence, that's two sentences of equal importance, and in a complex sentence, you have one dependent clause sentence that's less important, and then you've got the complete thought, which is the most important. And it depends on how the writer wants the message to come across, whether he uses a complex or compound sentence. And so, let's see. At the age of 4, my father taught me to ride a bike. Okay. If you aren't going to be able to make it, please call. These are all correct sentences. It takes skill to call in sick to work with a phony excuse. That is a complete sentence. That is a complete correct sentence. First of all, one must be sure to speak directly to the boss. That is a correct complete sentence. And then you have compound sentences. I could tell the room has been dusted before. All the pictures were crooked. You can tell it's a compound sentence because of fanboys. For, and, nor, so, bored. For, and, nor, but, or, so, yet, so, or something like that. Anyway, we ate dinner, but we are still hungry, and that's a compound sentence. Dan studied hard, so he received a good grade. That's a compound sentence. Modifiers are words that provide details and description about the object. Okay, so a dangling modifier means that it's missing a subject. So walking on the sidewalk, a car raced by. What kind of error is in the sentence? It's a dangling modifier because the car cannot walk on the sidewalk. It would be a person that walked on the sidewalk, and since the sentence doesn't say who walked on the sidewalk, therefore it's a dangling modifier. While working, an earthquake shook the building. What kind of error is in this sentence? It's also a dangling modifier because we don't know who is working, and it's not the earthquake that's working, so we have a missing subject. Having finished the assignment, the TV was turned on. So who finished the assignment? Who turned on the TV? Once again, you have a dangling modifier because you have a missing subject. And then having arrived late, a written excuse was needed. And so who wrote the written excuse and who arrived late? So once again, the subject is missing. And so if you want to fix it, you would say, when Susan walked on the sidewalk, a car raced by. Or, while John is working, an earthquake shook the building. Or, after Jan finished the assignment, the TV was turned on. And so you correct these mistakes by adding a subject. A misplaced modifier is when the modifier is in the wrong position in the sentence, and you have to correct it by putting the modifier into the correct place. And the modifier always modifies the subject. So the new employee wearing the brown suit will take front office. So obviously the front office cannot be wearing the front suit. My uncle just watches one television station. So you want to correct it to my uncle watches just one television station. I will be on the phone making appointments today. So your phone isn't making appointments, it's you. So I will be making appointments today on the phone. See? So you just have to change it around. On her way home, Jan found a gold man's watch. So the modifier always has to go before the noun that it modifies. So on her way home, Jan found a man's gold watch. The torn student book lay on the desk. The torn is in the wrong place because you can't have a student that's torn. It's the book that's torn. So you would say the student's torn book lay on the desk. And so then you have a whole bunch of fragments. Sentence fragments mean that's incomplete thought, and it's not a complete thought. So not to a coworker or secretary is a fragment, and not sound like a faker is a fragment. When he is fat is a fragment. Although she sings is a fragment. Then you go on to run-on sentences, comma slice. A comma slice is when you use a comma instead of a period at the end of a sentence. A fused sentence is when you have two sentences with no period after the first sentence. So a fused sentence would be, John ate dinner, and there's no period, he went to the restaurant. A comma slice is, John ate dinner, comma, he went to the restaurant. So the correct way of doing it is, John ate dinner, period, he went to the restaurant. Okay, correct. John who ate dinner went to the restaurant. John who went to the restaurant ate dinner. More comma slice examples. The can of mushroom soup must have spoiled, comma, it was bulging at the top. And so here you would put a period after spoiled, and then you would make it big and write, it was bulging at the top. I respect my parents. I resent their attempts to choose a career for me. So you would put a period after parents, and then you would, instead of that. And then you have fused sentences, means you have all these sentences coming together with no period. The most popular language in the world is Chinese, period. More than 1 billion people speak it. Okay. George knew the answer to the last essay exam question, period, and then he didn't have enough time to write in response. So that's a fused sentence. Which sentence demonstrates a possessive subject? So all of these sentences have a possessive subject. So here you have the China doll's dress was a sunny yellow. Jack's hat has a bright red. Susan's shoes were too small for her.